Good day, everyone, especially to you, Mrs. Flora Rosales. I am Darme Ikahes of Base AIS Block 1, Group 3 of our subject Managerial Economics, and my topic is all about managing in oligopolistic markets.
What is oligopoly? It is a market characterized by a small number of firms well realized they are interdependent in their pricing and output policies. Is a type of market characterized by a few firms offering either homogeneous product or differentiated product for sale in the market. Types of oligopoly: collusive oligopoly, non-collusive oligopoly. The literal meaning of the word oligopoly is competition among few. Collusive oligopoly is when the oligopolists come in formal or informal agreement with owning other to avoid competition among themselves. On the other hand, in a non-collusive oligopoly, the firms tend to compete with each other by setting their own price and output policy, which is independent of the other firms.
Collusive oligopoly is a market situation wherein the firms cooperate with each other in determining price or output or both. Also, a non-collusive oligopoly refers to a market situation where the firms compete with each other rather than cooperating. Common characteristics of non-collusive oligopoly is that they assume certain problem or of reaction of competitors in each period, and despite the fact that the expected reaction does not in fact materialize, the firm continue to assume that the initial assumption holds. So what is price rigidity? Price stickiness or sticky prices or price rigidity refers to a situation where the price of a good does not change immediately or readily to the new market clearing price when there are shifts in the demand and supply curve. Let us also find out what is kink demand curve. Kink demand curve model, also called Sweezy model, posits and price rigidity exists in an oligopoly because an oligopolistic firm faces a kink demand curve, a demand curve in which the segment above the market price is relatively more elastic than the segment below it. The demand curve is more elastic above the kink and less elastic below the kink. If the firm decreases its price from F10 to F18, the price is matched by the other firms, hence the curve slopes downward. If the firm increases its price from F10 to F212, the price is not matched by the curve or slopes upward from. Kink is at the point of F. This is an example graph of an kink demand curve.
Good day, everyone. I'm learning me Abapo Caballero, first year college, taking a Bachelor of Science in Accounting Information System, BSAIS, Block 1. I am belong to the Group 3 reporting in Managerial Economics, which is assigned a topic of cartel. Cartel, an association of manufacturers of suppliers with the purpose of maintaining prices at a high level and restricting competition. A cartel is a group of producers of a goods supply or suppliers of services formed through an agreement amongst themselves, whether or not through a, a formal agreement in writing, in order to regulate the supply of goods or services with the basic intent to illegally regulate the prices or to restrict competition in respect of the said goods or services. These are even some legalized cartels over the globe, such as OPEC, which regulate petrol prices. The first type is price cartels. They fix the minimum prices as per their demand-supply ratio. Members cannot sell the products below such prices. The second type is term cartels. They agree on the terms of business on a standard basis. Each member is obligated to follow the terms of trade. Terms of trade can be delivery mode, delivery location, delivery time, terms of payment, charging of interest in case of the delay are, and etc. And the third type is customer assignment cartels. Specific customers are assigned to each member. Thus, all customers are divided amongst the members to ensure appropriate flow or revenue. Each member shall maintain the dignity of allocation and should not rob customers of other members. And the fourth type is quota cartels. Quota means the quantum of supply. Such type of collaboration offered to restrict the supply, which in turn upscales the prices in the market. Every member must produce only up to quantum allocated to it and should not exceed the limit. And the fifth type is zonal cartels. They allocate the geographical location of the country. To each member in the cartel, members should ensure to operate on their specific territory. And the sixth type is syndicate cartels. Here, few members until to sell jointly and reduce the cost of production. Such cartel intend to achieve the economies of scale. And the last is for the type of cartel is super cartels. These are super cartels are high-level international collaborations. Cartels of the domestic country agree with cartels of the foreign country. The advantages of cartel. It provides monopoly type power to the member units. Products can be sold at higher margins, which maximizes the gross profits. The cost of advertising is reduced and the product is easily known to the customers. No effect of the business cycle on the individual players. Production efficiency can be easily managed as per supply constraints. Reasonable margin is assured for each member in the cartel. Big savings are achieved on economies or scale. The disadvantages of cartel. Individual monopolies affect the disposable income of customers. It creates inefficiencies in the market, which may affect the quality of the end product. It may have full regulation over the member, which provides instability to other members. There is no motivation to increase the efficiency in the market, and thus prices of products stay at a high cost. Demand will fluctuate as per the needs of customers and other economies of scale. This cannot regulate demand. The individual members are not able to scale up their operations. Cartel formation. What factors are most conducive to cartel formation? Sufficient profit motive. Means by which agreement can be reached and enforced. The potential for monopoly profit. Collusion must deliver an increase in profits. This implies demand is relatively inelastic, restricting output, increasing prices and profits. Entry is restricted. High profits encourage new entry, but new entry dissipates profits or of OPEC. New entry undermines the agreement collusive agreement. So there must be means to determine entry common marketing agency to channel output. Consumers must be persuaded of the advantages of the agency. Wider access to sellers, denied access if by outside the agencies. Diverse. Trade association persuade consumers that the association is in their best interest. What is price leadership? Price leadership occurs when a leading firm in a given industry is able to exert enough influence in the sector that it can effectively determine the price of goods or services for the entire market. This type of firm is sometimes referred to as the price leader. This phenomenon is common in industries that have oligopolistic market conditions, such as the airline industry. This level of influence oftentimes leaves the rivals of the price leader with little choice but to follow its lead and match the prices if they are to hold onto their market shares. In the airline industry, a dominant company typically sets the prices, and other airlines feel compelled to adjust their prices to match the prices of the leading firm. There are three primary models of price leadership. First is barometric, second is collusive, and the third one is price leadership model occurs when a particular firm is more adept than others at identifying shifts in applicable market forces, such as a change in production cost. This allows the firm to respond to market forces more efficiently. For instance, the firm may initiate a price change. It is possible for a firm with a small market share to act as a barometric price leader. If it's a good producer and if the firm is attuned, attuned to trends in its market, other producers may follow its lead. Assuming that the price leader is aware of something that they have yet to realize. However, because a barometric leader has very little power to impose its decisions on other firms in the industry, its leadership might be short-lived. And the second type of price leadership is the collusive. The collusive price leadership model may emerge within markets that have oligopolistic conditions. Collusive price leadership occurs as a result of an explicit or implicit agreement among a handful of dominant firms to keep their prices in mutual alignment. Smaller firms within the market are effectively forced into following the price change initiated by the dominant firms. This practice is most common in industries where the cost of entry is high and the cost of production are known. These agreements between firms, either implicit, may be considered illegal if the effort is designed to defraud the public. There is a fine line between price leadership and illegal acts of collusion. Price leadership is more likely to be considered collusive and potentially illegal if the changes in the price of a good are not related to changes in the operating cost of the firm. And the third type of price leadership is dominant. The dominant price leadership model occurs when the one firm controls the vast majority of the market share in its industry. When the industry, there are other smaller firms that provide the same products or services as the leading firm. However, in this model, these smaller firms cannot influence prices. A dominant price leadership model is sometimes referred to as a partial monopoly. In this type of model, the price leader might engage in predatory pricing, which refers to the practice of lowering prices to levels that make it impossible for smaller, competing firms to remain in business. In most countries, business decisions that enact predatory pricing and are aimed at hurting smaller companies are illegal. Price leadership, the goal of the managers of a firm is to maximize the firm's profit. Profit equals the revenues minus cost. We can think of a firm as choosing either the price to set or the quantity that it sells. Either way, the firm faces a demand curve and chooses a point on the curve that maximizes its profits. In reality, most firms choose the price of the good that they sell. However, it is often simpler to analyze a firm's behavior by looking at the quantity that it chooses. I will show a short audio video for getting more information about firm's model of price leadership.
Includes a dominant firm and follower firms. The first graph shows you the supply of the followers and the demand by all of the customers in that market. We will now attempt to derive the leaders or the dominant firm's demand curve as the difference between the industry demand and the followers' supply. The dominant firm will ask the question, how much can the followers supply relative to what is being demanded? At the price we call Pmax, the followers can supply everything that is being demanded. At Pmin, the followers are just about to start supplying. It is not in their interest to start supplying, but for any price higher than Pmin, the followers in the industry will start to supply. We have, therefore, the raw material to derive the leader's demand. The leader will supply the entire market at Pmin, and the leader will supply 0 at Pmax. So the leader will determine its demand curve. Remember, imperfectly competitive firms do not use a supply curve. They supply based on marginal revenue equal marginal cost, the profit maximizing condition. So they need to know their own cost conditions. And they also need to know what the demand for their product is. We then calculate the marginal revenue, which slopes twice as steeply as the demand curve for the leader, and the marginal cost curve for the leader. And the intersection of the marginal costs for the leader and the marginal revenue from the leader will give us the quantity that the leader will supply. We project up to the demand curve for the leader, and we get the price that the leader will set. We follow the follower's supply curve up to that price for the leader's production. So the leader is maximizing profit, and the others are satisficing, accepting that price, and doing the best they can. It is as if they were in a perfectly competitive industry, and the demand curve were horizontal for each firm, or the price was given, and therefore the marginal revenue to each of these firms is equivalent to the price, and the marginal cost is their supply curve. So they will supply based on the intersection of their supply curve and the price that they are given by the leader in this case. So again, we have the leader's demand curve as a derived demand curve. Notice that there's a kink in the leader's demand curve. This turns out not to be consequential. What it says is there's a lower price, or there's a lowest possible price at which the followers will supply. That is what the kink explains that once the followers are supplying zero, the original industry demand curve obtains. So we see the leader choosing MR equals MC and obtaining the Q star and the P star. And now we follow the followers supply curve up to the price P star L, and that tells us the quantity that the followers are willing to supply. Remember that the aggregate quantity being supplied is the sum of the followers and the leaders, and this would all be on the original industry demand curve as an equilibrium. Let us attempt to solve a problem to obtain the profit maximizing quantity and price that the leader will supply, and then ex post we will calculate the quantity that the followers will supply so that we can get back to the total industry demand. We start by deriving the leader's demand curve, which is the industry demand curve minus the quantity that will be supplied by the followers. The industry demand curve is given by QD industry equals 248 minus 2P. The follower's supply is given by QF equals 48 plus 3P. When we subtract the follower's supply from the industry demand, we get QL equals 248 minus 48 is 200. And we have minus 2P minus 3P is minus 5P. So we have QL equals 200 minus 5P. We will rewrite this equation with P as the subject. So we have 5P equals 200 minus QL. Divide through by 5, we get 40 minus 0.2 QL. The marginal revenue for the leader or the dominant firm will be twice as steep as the demand curve. So MR equals 40 minus 0.4 QL. We said that the dominant firm's marginal cost was MC equals 0.1 QL. Therefore, we equate marginal revenue with marginal cost, and we get 0.1 QL equals 40 minus 0.4 QL, which tells us that 0.5 QL equals 40, or QL equals 80. We plug that 80 back into the leader's demand curve, and we get P equals 40 minus 0.2 of 80. 0.2 of 80 is 16. 40 minus 16 equals 24. We can now plug that 24 back into the follower's supply curve, and we get QF equals 48 plus 3 times 24. 3 times 24 is 72. And 72 and 48 give us a total of 120. So the leader is supplying 80. If we were to plug the price of 24 back into the original demand curve, we have 248 minus 2 times 24. 248 minus 48 equals 200. So the quantity originally demanded by the industry is 200.
Good day everyone, and good day ma'am. I'm Sterlimia Parisi, first year BSIS Black 1, and I'm going to report my topic entitled Pricing in Market Power.
What is pricing? Pricing is a process of fixing the value that a manufacturer will receive in the exchange of services and goods. Pricing method is exercised to adjust the cost of the producer's offerings suitable to both the manufacturer and the customer. So pricing is about proactively creating the conditions under which better and more profitable pricing outcomes are the natural result. The goal of the managers of a firm is to maximize the firm's profit. The formula is profit equals revenues minus cost. We can think of a firm as choosing either the price to set or the quantity that it sells. Either way, the firm faces a demand curve and chooses a point on that curve that maximizes its profits. In reality, most firms choose the price of the goods that they sell. However, it is often simpler to analyze a firm's behavior by looking at the quantity that it chooses. What is markup? Markup is the gap between a product or service's cost and its actual selling price. Using markup allows manufacturers to cover the cost of supplies required to create the products and make a profit. Both fixed and variable expenses are included in the final price. Within a marketplace, markup is often referred to as a percentage. Markup is the difference between how much an item costs you and how much you sell that item. It's your profit per item. Any person working in business or retail will find the skill of being able to calculate markup percentage very valuable. Markup, it means tubo. How to calculate markup percentage? Follow the steps to determine markup. 1. Calculate your peso markup. Example, selling price is 15. Cost or buying price is 10 peso. Peso markup is equals to selling price minus cost or buying price. Peso markup is equals to 15 minus 10. So 5 is the markup or tubo. 2. Decided whether you want to calculate your percentage markup based on cost or selling price. Once you choose which you will be using to calculate, it is important to you to stick to the method you choose throughout all your calculation, or you will end up with faulty data. If you decided to calculate your percent markup based on cost, go on step 3. If you decided to calculate your percent markup based on selling price, go on to step 4. 3. Calculate percent markup based on cost. This is done by dividing the markup by the cost. Example, based on example number 1, markup or peso markup is 5. Cost or buying price is 10. So we are looking for percentage markup. So this is the formula. PM or percentage markup is equals to peso markup divide cost or buying price. So PM is equals to 5 divided by 10. So 5.5 or 50% is the percentage markup. 4. Calculate your percent markup based on selling price. This is done by dividing the markup by the selling price. So, peso markup is 5. Selling price is 15. So, we're looking for a percentage markup. So, PM is equals to markup or peso markup divided by selling price. So, PM is equals to 5 divided by 15. So, 0.33 or 33% is our percentage markup. 5. Make sure you consistently use either cost of the product or selling price to find the percent markup on an item. Even though the cost, selling price, and markup will always be the same, the percentage markup will be drastically different depending on it if you calculate it using selling price or cost. Using selling price, it will give you a lower percentage markup, assuming you are making a profit. While using cost, it will give you a higher percentage markup. It is a graph of markup pricing. Profits are maximized markup pricing when the extra revenue from selling one more unit of output marginal revenue is equal to the extra cost of producing one more unit marginal cost. The firm's decision rule is to select a point on the demand curve such that marginal revenue is equals marginal cost.
Good day everyone, my name is Janley A. Rosales from BSAIS Block 1. My assigned topic is markup pricing. Markup pricing illustrates this pricing decision. The markup depends on the price elasticity of demand when demand is relatively inelastic. Firms have a lot of market power and set of high markup. This is not a plug and play formula because both the markup and marginal cost depend in general on the price that a firm chooses. However, it does provide a useful description of a firm's decision. We can rearrange this condition to obtain a firm's pricing rule. Price is equal to markup multiplied by marginal cost. We can derive the markup pricing formula as follows, where profit, R is revenue, C cost, MR marginal revenue, MC marginal cost, P price, Q output, and elasticity of demand and markup. First, we note that the firm sets marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. Rearranging, we obtained price is equal to markup multiplied by marginal cost, where the markup is given by. That's all and thank you.